live, and we're live from Palm Beach, Florida, the winter White House. Soon to be switched to Washington, D.C., I guess, or maybe to New Jersey for the weekends, so that the president can play golf, which he better play, because I think that's the reason why he's so successful. So it's a little quieter at the Vatican today. Get me the date. I had it, but I didn't write it down, of the Mass, when the Mass is going to be. Pretty soon. I think they don't take a great deal of time. They take like a great deal of time to crown the King of England, like 9 months or 8 months or something like that. It's nothing like that here.
I was looking forward to a drawn-out conclave, because this has been such a fun look into the history of the church that I wanted to keep kind of the project going.
Well, I mean, he could resign if you talk to him. It sounds like if you make him manager of the White Sox, he might resign.
Yeah, not the Cubs.
Yeah. Oh God, if you said the Cubs, his brother got so upset when you said the Cubs.
Yeah, right.
So let's begin this one. Let's begin this one after our last show with I teased him with what's the big announcement this week before we get to the Pope and the UK deal and what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Israel, Iran, meetings with China, all that's going to come up. But let's use our heads now and figure out when Trump told Carney and the world that he was going to come up with a big announcement that everybody's going to love. It's going to be one of the biggest ever. What was he talking about? And it's not
trade. He gave us a hint.
No, it's not trade. It's not UK deal, which he would never say was the biggest one. UK deal was big, but it wasn't the biggest one. He's got a couple ahead that are going to be bigger.
Right, I agree. So what do we think it is? So Mayor, obviously you kind of have an inside track with how long you've known the man. You may have some. So
well, I'm going to attribute my guess or the direction I'm going in to Ed Henry, who's on Newsmax, and said this right afterwards. And the analysis makes some sense, right? He said, but there's a gap in it that I'd like to ask Ed how he gets over that. He said he's announcing it toward the weekend, and he keeps kind of putting it off Thursday, Friday, or the end of the weekend. What's he doing after the end of the weekend? He's going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, I think the Emirates. He says, I think it's going to be another Abraham Accord, but the big one that would be earth-shattering is Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Right.
I don't see how that could be done. I do not understand how it's possible that you're going to get over the anger on the street of Saudi Arabia with the Hamas and the Palestinians being thrown out of Gaza with an American or Israeli occupation. Not that the Saudi Arabian royal family would mind it. They don't want the Palestinians there, but they're extremists, of which they are legitimately in fear of overthrowing the kingdom, might go crazy. This is why they've always been reluctant to make peace with Israel, even though at times they've been close allies. On Iran, they're as close allies, and maybe even closer than we are, or certainly than we have been under the Democrat administrations who favored Iran.
Well, they can find time after time after time where working together with Israel is definitely to their benefit.
Saudi Arabia,
and it's a modern country.
If it weren't for the fear of the Saudi Arabian, let's call it the street, the extremist population of, we're talking about Sunni extremists, not Shiite extremists. Shiite extremists are in Iran. Sunni extremists are in Saudi Arabia, and they may hate each other more than they hate Israel. But that's a different story. The story here is the royal family would probably have done it last time, but for the fact that there is, and I would agree that it's a legitimate one, but it might be exaggerated. I don't know. They believe that if they, without the Palestinian issue being resolved, that the street will see them as traitors to, I think the Palestinians are also Sunnis, to fellow Sunnis. See, if they were Shiites and it was doing something to Iran, there'd be no problem with the.
They just wipe them right out.
Well, they'd be happy about it.
Yeah.
But we're talking about fellow Sunnis. So that's why Trump has been trying to figure out some way to settle the war there. But he's got to settle it so that the Palestinians don't yell and scream that they've been screwed, because then you can lose Saudi Arabia. Unless Saudi Arabia now has come to the point where it's got sufficient enough control of its street and their Saudi Arabian people, who are much better educated now than they were 10 years ago, they may have moved beyond that.
Well, yeah, and MBS has modernized the country significantly.
Well, he wants to.
Yeah.
But smaller countries don't have that kind of a major. They have much more control over their population. So for Qatar, for Dubai to do it, for the Emirates, which is part of Dubai, to do it, for Oman, for those countries to do it, you're talking about countries that have very, very strong control over their population, and they don't have many extremists in those countries. The extremists come in. The extremists are imported by Iran. So it was easier for them, like for Jordan, all the way back Egypt, although it resulted in the killing us of Saddam.
Okay,
right?
so you think that the big announcement is some sort of solution for the Palestinians?
No, I told you Ed Henry thought that.
Oh, Ed Henry thinks
I'm
that.
having a hard time working my way through how you could do that, which I've just explained to you, because this is a 30-year problem. You could have had peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel 20 years ago.
And is it almost
weren't for their
distasteful? Is it almost distasteful to like tease a big peace plan in the Middle East like that? Or
He didn't do that. He didn't say it was the Middle East. We're saying it's the Middle East.
yeah, no, that's what I mean though. I don't think he would tease it in the way that he did if this was what it was.
So now at least what do you guys say it is?
Man, that's such an educated guess based. It's tough, right, to go against it, Mayor.
Well,
When
they
you
already
said,
Don't go against it.
It's not trade.
I'm
But
not sure.
I want to, the
I'm not
competitive
sure I
side of
agree
me.
with it.
Okay, okay. So
I'm telling
Okay,
you, I
that's
don't
good to
agree
know.
with it. I think there's a big hole in it that hasn't been fixed, which is, what do you do about the Saudi Arabian extremists?
is he leaving Sunday?
I think he's leaving Sunday. Yeah, Sunday night, I think.
Well,
He's leaving Sunday. He's making a number of stops. He's
What
not.
else could it be?
I think that the Pope, the papal selection might have interfered with some of this public affairs campaign that we're having
That
going
is
on.
true.
We might
That
have
is
to
true.
we might have to shuffle some things around.
He picked the wrong time. He was hoping for like a 2 or 3 day dominating the news. He could always rekindle it and put it off and say, I'll do it next week.
I think that's where we're at, probably. When are we expecting the news? Yesterday?
Friday, Saturday would be tomorrow, or I think he said before he leaves, which would be Sunday.
Okay.
So
Is it coming down here for the weekend or staying up there?
my understanding that he was planning to come down here, but I haven't seen
Find out.
confirmation of
That
that.
could tell you
yet.
something.
That's right. His travel schedule. So maybe we come and guess. We want if you're watching, comment below. Let us know. What is your guess? What is the big announcement?
Some of the people watching this actually probably
Might help us.
they might know actually.
Well, somebody knows. He's planning it with somebody.
Yeah, you have to buy
And
tickets.
Caroline
and stuff.
Levitt has been very cagey.
The
And we're not
McDonald's,
going
you
to.
have
We're
to.
not
they have
asking
to-
her. We could ask for some insight.
We should ask McDonald's who has a big order, like what country has
Maybe
a big order
who's
coming
the
up.
weakest one there? We'll call them and say, You're so unimportant you don't know?
Right? Yeah.
Just tell us.
About that. Hey, we know the whole concept. Those guys, maybe they're watching, maybe they're not.
There got to be a
Maybe
weakling
I'm
there.
calling you this weekend. Yeah,
That works all the
you-
time.
Oh, you
That
don't
works
know.
all the time.
Tell 'em how
They
that
even
works,
leaked
Mayor.
a little out of somebody got some leaks out of the conclave.
That's right, Mayor. We'll call him this weekend. I'll have you on the phone. I'm with the
Monsignor,
mayor here.
Monsignor, you've been with the Cardinal for 10 years and you don't know what's going on? He doesn't tell you? Wow, you're not really very important. are you?
Yeah.
Well, I found out.
When you first told me that, Mayor, I laughed. It's so true. It's so true. That's how it works.
I wanted to show you this last night, but we didn't quite have it ready. So yesterday, of course, there was a massive, there was just a massive ceremony in the selection of the Pope with they're doing 5 ballots, finally getting a 2/3 vote. The senior cardinal going up to the selection and saying to him, will you accept the chair of St. Peter as the vicar of Christ? And the cardinal said accepto. He took it, came out. We had the ceremony. Cardinal blessed everyone, became Pope Leo the 13th. And he became the 267th successor of Peter the Apostle, who was buried right below the altar on which he is going to be invested as the Pope officially. Now, this is based on Matthew 16. The key chapters are about they go to about 20, maybe 10 to 20. Those are the key chapters. I've seen many renditions. I've seen many renditions of that, and you have too if you've watched movies about the life of Jesus, the greatest story ever told, Jesus Christ. The Passion doesn't deal with this, which may be one of the greatest movies about Jesus. But I think the greatest movie done about the life of Jesus Christ is an ongoing series called Chosen. And I think the actor who plays Jesus is inspired by God to play this role. Whether you, and I thought the same thing was true in The Passion. I mean, that man had to speak Aramaic and play Jesus, and credibly, and he did. And of course, he didn't get the Academy Award because the Chinese communists wouldn't allow it to go to a religious movie, and they control Hollywood. But Gibson is doing another Passion. But this Chosen, instead of just focusing on the Passion, it's in its 4th season, and this was toward the end of the 4th season. Actually, the 4th season leaves you with Jesus being arrested. So the 5th season is going to be about the Passion. So this is, as I said, Matthew. We can set the scene. If you want to find it and follow it in your Bible, it's Matthew. Well, the key words are Matthew and 16:18. But it's important to know the background of it, because this is where Jesus proclaims Peter the rock on which he is going to build his church. Now, you have to know that Jesus didn't make that decision. If you read Matthew carefully, Jesus gives all the apostles the opportunity to answer correctly, who am I? And they don't know, or they're not strong enough, or their faith hasn't gotten to that level yet. It begins at 13, it'd probably be the place where it begins. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." But what about you, he asked. he looked at Simon Peter. Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Based upon that testimonial, Jesus concludes that's the one that his Father has selected to be the rock on which to build the universal church. Now let's watch the dramatization of it in that brilliant series, Chosen.
Who do people say the Son of Man is?
Some say you are Elijah, the one who preaches repentance.
Others say Jeremiah, because he was rejected by the leaders of his time.
And still others say one of the prophets, those that spoke on God's behalf.
Okay, what are we gonna have to do, huh? Cast lots? Nathaniel, this is your moment. Be yourself.
Some say John the Baptizer, which obviously isn't true.
Okay, well, that's everyone else. But who do you say that I am?
You? You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. These carved statues of Baal and Pan and other idols that we passed, they're dead and decaying, but we worship a living God, and you are his son.
Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. All your life, you've been called Simon, one who hears. But today, I call you Peter. Rock. It is on this rock that I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. This is a place of death, and I brought you here to tell you that death has no power to hold my redeemer.
Pretty powerful, huh? And very, very, honestly conveying Matthew. Now, when you saw at the end the young man writing, you saw him several times writing. That's the person who plays Matthew, who, of course, recorded it. And of course, I don't know exactly which ones of the other disciples spoke up and gave the incorrect answer. But when Simon Peter gives the answer that, yes, you are indeed the Christ, the Son of the living God, you can see the expression on his face. That was the signal from his Father, because God, the Father, selected Peter. And that's how he determined who the leader of his church was going to be. Now, there are competing interpretations by the Orthodox Church and by some of the Protestant churches, and their analysis of the same language would be, well, there's one kind of silly one which says that the Greek word was actually stone, not rock, and you wouldn't build a church on a stone. But it's the same. But in the even in the Greek text, it's the same word that's used. So even if he said, you're Simon Peter, you're the stone, he then goes on to say, you're the stone on which I'm going to build my church. And the gates of hell will not prevail against you. So that's a bit of a stretch. The early heretical, and then some of the Protestant interpretations of it are a little more arguable. What they say is, and this is biblical interpretation. This is also interpretation that rabbis do all the time. But the words mean so much because they're the words of God, right? So the question is, when Jesus says, you are the rock, okay, or he actually says, this is important. Let me get the exact words. That you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Does he mean Peter as the leader of the church, which for 2,000 years Catholics have believed? Or does he mean on your confession? Because before that, Jesus is the one who says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And is that confession by Peter, acknowledgement by Peter, testimonial actually would be the better word, by Peter? Is that the rock on which the church is built? This is what Methodists would tell you. This is what Presbyterians would tell you. This is what Episcopalians would tell you, but that'd be more dishonest because that ain't the basis on which Henry VIII established the Anglican Church. He didn't go into such fine biblical analysis. He just wanted to get rid of Catherine and marry Anne Boleyn, either as a matter of lust or wanting a male child, until he decided that Anne couldn't accomplish it either, and he chopped her head off. So the Anglican analysis is a bit after the fact, but the analysis by Luther, the analysis by the founders of the Methodists and the Presbyterian Church, I mean, it has some basis in it. Although it does seem pretty clear, particularly when he goes on, we left that out, but Jesus goes on to give Peter the keys to the kingdom. He gives him the keys to the kingdom, and then gives him the power originally, before anyone else, to forgive sins or not, or to announce doctrine or not, by saying, you are the rock, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it. Then he says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Now, here's the argument made by, again, the more solid argument by the establishment Protestant churches. And that is, here he gave that power to all, he was giving that power to all of his disciples. Because later on he repeats that for all of them and gives them all the power to whatever you bind on earth will be bound on earth. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed on earth. Although he uses somewhat different words. And it's the words that create the sacrament of confession. He says, whatever sins you forgive on earth will be forgiven in heaven. And whatever sins you do not forgive will not be forgiven in heaven. So is it a different power that's being given, which is given to all of them? The power to confession is a sacramental power possessed by all priests, including the Pope. The thing he does not give to the other disciples, however, are the keys to the kingdom. So these are very, very difficult biblical arguments for which these churches should have great respect for each other, because they're all attempting to read the words of Jesus Christ. And what did he mean? And, as a Roman Catholic trained that way, of course, I'd be probably biased in that direction. But I've been through quite a history as a Roman Catholic, and I questioned everything before I became a true believer again. And I would say, as intellectually honestly as I could, when you consider all of it in context, including the giving of the keys, it is quite clear that he wanted Peter to be their leader. And of course, it would be inconsistent that he wouldn't want them to have a leader. Right. Well, you're just going to, if you want a church built, and I think all Christians agree he wanted a church built, it's just who's in charge of it. Aren't you going to put somebody in charge of it? I mean, it would be inconsistent with the theory of the day that you were going to have some kind of a loose, Vermont style town hall meeting every time you wanted to decide something about the church. It would make sense that there'd be some structure to this, particularly when you have to stand up against the Roman Empire. So I could give you a lot more arguments one way and the other, because I've been through this from the time I was a kid, arguments about this. So, but it is a beautiful passage in the Bible, either way you interpret it. And I would say the Roman Catholic interpretation is as valid as any other, and then became the tradition of the church. I mean, Protestant didn't come along for 1,300 more years, 1,400 more years. The Roman Church did a pretty good job of carrying this from Jesus to Luther. They may have screwed up, but there would have been no church for Luther to deal with if it weren't for the first 20 pontiffs who were martyred.
And Jesus himself.
Yeah. Or look, one of my good friends, I had him on, Pastor Lehmeyer, is a great admirer of St. Augustine. Well, St. Augustine is a saint in 500, before there was, where all Christians were together. He's as much their saint as our saint. And Augustine is the order that Leo the 14th belongs to. He's an Augustinian friar. So I would like to show you this picture of the Pope in class 2B. There he is in class 2B at St. Mary's School. Look, those girls look like exactly the uniform the kids used to wear at St. Francis of Assisi that I went to, and St. Anne's later on.
So they're educated together, men and women, or boys and girls, I suppose?
In grammar school, we were educated together. In high school, it was all men, and in college, it was all men.
Well, here the boys may have been brought into the girls' class for the group picture.
No. It looks like extra boys were brought in.
Oh, you're right. Boys are sitting in the chairs.
They may be in two sections. 2B can mean there are two sections to class to grade 2, or 2B could mean it's the second half of the year.
So it's safe to say they could not choose their gender when this was taken. I think that's.
I doubt that any of these people had gender dysmorphia.
Okay.
Well, I would think going back to their Irish or Italian or Polish parents, this would not be a discussion that would be entertained for too long.
Can you imagine being one of his classmates?
Think of Chicago. So who are these kids? These kids are Italian, Irish, maybe the other order, Irish, Italian. There's as big a Polish population in Chicago as there is Italian, maybe even Irish.
We have Germans in Chicago.
There are Germans in Chicago, and then by this time there'd be a big group of Eastern Europeans, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, A lot of the Eastern Europeans tended to go toward the Midwest. So I just don't think this was a group that was spent a great deal of time creating doubt in their children that if they had the physical attributes of a male, that really they should start thinking they were a female.
Well, if you want to get the left crazy, look, I mean, they're going to definitely complain about the diversity of St. Mary's School back in 1962. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what Biden wanted. He didn't want his kids to go to school in the jungle.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is the wrong opinion.
It is the wrong opinion. And this is a little before the civil rights. I mean, it's even before Brown against the Board of Ed, which was 54. So this is no, it's after 62. I'm sorry, I thought it was 52. It's 62. Yeah, he's a lot younger than me. But I tell you, it could be St. Francis of Assisi.
I believe that school is now closed, but maybe this
I
will
skipped the
inspire
2B.
an opening. You skipped what?
I skipped the 2B.
What does that mean?
What that means is I had to change schools, and we had a strange system. So I was like, I completed the first half of the second grade, and then when we moved to Long Island, I could have either have to redo the first part of the second grade, or I could be skipped ahead to the third grade.
Oh, skip ahead.
Well, they skipped me ahead. So I was always been a half a year younger than my class. I graduated college at 17.
Yeah. How hard is that? You can learn subtraction in like a week.
But then I was 18 very quickly. But I was a half year. Everybody was basically a half year older than me in class.
Oh, wow.
After I left St. Anne's. No, after I left St. Francis of Assisi and went to St. Anne's. But it could be either classroom. Even the girls, the thing that's really interesting is they have a little more diversity in their uniforms, these girls, than we were allowed. Notice the little girl. I got to have my here. Notice. I hope you find this interesting. I do. Notice this little girl. Oh, maybe they're the same. Maybe she just has hers.
Oh, no. There's differences. Look, she has a whole thing down the middle of hers.
And then all the rest of them are like have big bib things, and this one looks a little different. You would not. I mean, if that would in my schools, the girls were exactly the same. I don't remember. You notice the Pope is wearing a different tie.
Ah, yes.
Everybody else has a dark tie on. This other kid has.
You got a Colonel Sanders looking guy there in the corner.
Yeah, and we got a regular bow tie. We got a regular bow tie.
We got one bow tie and one, I don't even know what you call those Colonel Sanders ties.
Oh, there. You got the kid in the plaid shirt.
There are a couple other kids that looks like with light ties right here, back here.
Look at the boy sitting down. He's got a checkered shirt.
And they're all
checkered shirt on the far left.
Probably
sitting down on the far left.
I can't remember. I think we had a tie given to you or you bought from the school that had the name on it, like St. Francis or it had like an insignia of the school. It looks like they may have a few of those, like here. Also, it's really important that you have very small classes. You know how big that class is?
Well, I think that's 2 classes. It's got to be. Look at those guys standing. They got standing room only.
Class 2B. Class 2B.
It could be 2 classes. Because there are boys and girls equally distributed here.
Not equally. There's like 3 or 4 boys sitting.
Yeah.
Maybe they had them fill them in. Huh. Maybe the Pope will explain this picture down
there are we need an explanation for the 2B. The 2B could be there were two second grades, 2A, 2B. 2B could be this is the second half of the year. 2A, 2B.
In my school, we had A days and B days. So one week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we would go to our A classes, and then the Tuesday, Thursday would be B. The following week, we would, switch them. So our B days. So it'd be an every other day kind of thing to give you some time to study, give you reading time.
So that's a different use of 2A and 2B. Yeah. So I can think now of 3 uses of it. So we're going to have to go. Well, why don't we call the Pope tonight and ask him when he gets up in the morning?
Right.
See if Eleonora can go over and ask him. Okay?
Ask him a quick question.
Okay. Would that be okay?
Let's think of a better question, maybe.
Oh, like,
What's like the
does he
meaning
really
of life?
Does he really root? How about the other Chicago teams?
Right. Yeah. That's what I've been
And if
working
his
on.
father was a Cardinal fan, how the hell did he become? How did he become a? Usually, you follow your father.
Well, a local White Sox. There is
a picture.
There's a video
of him in a Chicago Bears game.
Yes.
Bears or White Sox?
The Chicago Bears football team.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, here's the White Sox
with Jenks on the mound.
Mostly in the crowd.
They're 2 strikes away from a win here in 2005 in Game 1. With
There he
Jenks
is.
on the mound.
Oh my
and Everett at the plate.
This is the 2005
They're
World
2
Series.
strikes away from a win here in 2005 in Game 1. With Jenks on the mound.
There he
Who
is.
he's with?
There he is.
He's a good-looking young guy.
He looks like a young guy. I mean, that was 20 years ago. Still in his 40s.
And Everett at the plate.
Isn't that something?
They're 2 strikes away from a win here in 2005 in Game 1. With Jenks on the mound. With Jenks.
There he is. There he is. We got a Pope who's a
Glad
baseball
you
fan.
Found that one.
Isn't that nice?
That's really to see a Pope at a baseball.
Well, and where is he in this one here? Ted, you want to go back to the camera?
Can you show me the uniforms again?
Yeah, sorry.
Go back to the baseball players.
Oh, well,
That's the same.
World Series.
That's the same World Series. Yes.
Okay.
What's he doing there at that World Series? What was that one?
The same World Series.
But
Just
what was it? What
put it back on.
That was a little foggy picture.
So it's actually a picture of somebody else, and he's in the.
It's
a picture of somebody else. He's in the upper left. That's him up top.
Yeah.
He's like caught in the picture.
He's praying on the phone.
But
He's calling Jesus for help.
Yeah.
He's certainly not calling a bookie, right? He's a Catholic.
Well,
he's activating the big prayer tree.
He is from Chicago. Who says he's not calling a bookie?
We're gonna give him the benefit
Well,
of the doubt.
I mean, hey, if we're gonna go there, maybe he brought some of his Chicago friends over for the conclave.
But
I'm kidding.
Any of Mayor Daley's
right?
people?
Yeah. Where's Mayor Daley? Where was Mayor Daley this
we
week?
had an extra bag of ballots.
Gee! What's Mayor Daley's son doing walking around the conclave?
Yeah, I didn't know. Are you sure you're a Catholic? I guess.
How
they
did he
are.
get in?
But in all seriousness, Mayor, there's got to be something there. The fact that Americans, we can now relate with the Pope at a pretty, I don't want to call it intimate level, but as a baseball fan,
No, we can have fun like this,
Right.
Like we're having about the Pope.
streets of Chicago, Villanova,
I mean,
he
how
went to
bad
school.
can he be? I mean, there are a lot of right-wing people going wacky, woo!
Yeah, they really are. A lot of non-Catholics too. I've noticed.
Evan Johnson has had some things to say, I would say.
There's two. I mean,
Look at Matt Walsh. I think Matt Walsh had a good
give
point.
the guy a break. Give him a break. And by the way, I can argue based on this. I can show you a guy who's sending you both signals, and I think this guy is smart enough to know that one of the things mentioned a million times about Pope Francis. Oh yeah, that's even the better picture. Where you see cute kid. I mean, he was a cute kid.
Yeah, that whole room, bunch of cute. Back when they wore uniforms, they're dressed nice. They're smiling. They're sitting in their seats.
Yeah, they don't look like they're oppressed, even though if they talked out of turn, they get hit by the nun.
Yeah,
but
right.
they still
Maybe
don't look
that's
like they're
what-
oppressed.
Yeah. Hey, my dad went through the same schooling. My parents, right? Catholic school. The nuns.
The
The
nuns.
word that you feared the nuns more than the brothers.
I agree with your dad completely.
So what school is he
And
in?
I'm going to tell you what also, and ask your dad if this is true. It's more humiliating.
Ah, right.
If a brother smacked you, even punched you, it was almost a sign of manhood. You could take it.
Yeah.
If a woman did it, even if she didn't hurt you as much, it was like embarrassing.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, that's a good point.
I was really ready when I went to high school to be with the brothers. I enjoyed that immensely.
But you were learning from them.
You
ate it up.
I was educated for 8 years by the Christian Brothers, and they are a wonderful order. They're a French order under Saint John the Baptist de La Salle. They are brothers, not priests. They don't become priests because they dedicate their life to teaching. Most of them, every single one of them has a master's degree. Most have doctorates.
Were
They are wonderful teachers, and they run a lot of colleges that you wouldn't know, like Manhattan. How would you know that was a Catholic college? Because it's an old college, and it wasn't allowed to have a Catholic name in the 19th century.
Interesting.
Same thing with Fordham.
Fordham. I knew
I mean,
that.
Fordham should be named after a Jesuit saint. It would have been if it was founded after 1900.
Fordham must have been a gentleman person.
I don't even know who Fordham
Yeah.
was. But
That's
I mean, it
interesting.
was if it were if so
Fordham neighborhood in the Bronx. It was named after the neighborhood.
okay, it was named after the
Fordham.
neighborhood. The Manhattan College would have probably been named LaSalle. So you've heard of LaSalle. There are several famous LaSalle schools. Those are all Christian Brothers schools,
Right.
Because the founder of the order was LaSalle.
Right. LaSalle's a very
Well, if you want, actually, I've been doing some research on the Pope, and I have some pictures of his church that he attended in Chicago. It has since
closed down, right? Or did it? Has
here,
it?
Can you go for
Is that St. Mary's?
St. Mary's of the Assumption in Chicago, Illinois?
So the building is still there, but it's shuttered its doors, right?
Yes, sir.
No.
But this might-
the window. I'll buy the window.
I have a feeling it might see a revival. We can only hope.
Where? Tell me the name of the church.
St. Mary's of the Assumption.
Is there? I wonder if we can locate it on the map.
St. Mary's Assumption. We're looking at it here to see if it's a vacant South Side church. It is vacant.
Now we're on the south side again.
Right. Chicago's far south side.
Near the suburb of Dalton.
He was raised in
Well,
Dalton.
that's where he was raised.
And then his home parish was St. Mary's of the
We're going to
Assumption.
take a break, and we're going to start doing. We'll be ready with our maps when we come back. We're going to figure out this geography thing, and then we're going to take you through the effect on China. I mean, Trump is kicking them around big time. And I don't know if this is the time to think about easing up on the tariffs. Again, like I told you with Iran, when you got them on the ropes, that's when you punch harder. We'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Excuse me. You caught me eating.
And you can't blame that one on me. You put that in as I
Dr.
was
Maria's
counting us
not
back
around,
in.
so she better not see this. So, we're looking for where the Pope's church was in Chicago, and
Oh goodness.
South side. That's
so
definitely
we're
the
talking
south side.
we're talking south, right?
Right.
And it really is in the community of Dalton. Now, is that part of the city of Chicago?
No, it's a suburb, but it's just south.
But like, does the mayor of Chicago have jurisdiction over Dalton?
I believe Dalton has its own mayor.
Or does it have its own mayor?
But we'll find out.
Remember, it's no longer the second city. Its population is below Los Angeles.
Well, I was going to say, some people are saying.
Yeah, I know. They're getting all excited because of the Pope. Because the Pope doesn't make it the second city or the first city. Remember, he's only religious, not secular. Render to Caesar that which is Caesar's, and to God that which is God.
Okay, I do
Separation of church and state.
I have a street view of the area if you want to go.
Yeah. Show it.
So,
I can accomplish that too, I think, on here.
So this is the building, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be the school. Doesn't look like the church.
But if you can tell, I'll bring you over. That
was like an old picture.
It's
like way back. Way back.
There's garbage. Oh my goodness! Look at the garbage.
Oh, is that now?
Yes.
That's what happened to it?
This is July of 24. Yeah, well, it's a
July 24 this year? Last year?
July of 2024. We can walk over here.
I do believe the church is standing, though.
Oh, look what happened to it.
Well, let's see if we can find the church.
Oh, my.
The south side of Chicago is kind of known to be this type of area.
Oh, that looks better.
Well, it looks a little brighter, but I don't know about better.
But where's the church?
Behind us.
Well, let's find the church. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back.
See if you can find the church. There's
his father, by the way, was a Navy veteran who was a lieutenant who became a superintendent for public schools. His mother was a librarian. The family came from Spanish, French, and Italian descent. And the Pope was raised to speak the languages, all three, at a very early age, which is unusual, right? He was born in Chicago on September 14th, 1955. His father's name was Louis Marius Prevost. So you see, Louis would probably be the Italian part and Prevost is the French part. And he married Mildred Martinez, whose family came from Spain. Mildred was a very, very devout Catholic, and she brought her sons to St. Mary of the Assumption Church, which is the one we're looking for right now.
Oh,
right?
I found it.
On East 137th Street, where Mildred sang in the choir. Of course, his first role was, like many of us, as an altar boy. But we don't become popes.
Throw it up, Ted. So
He was an altar boy, which means back then he was saying the mass. He was saying the mass in Latin. He was responding like I was in Latin.
Oh, we have to revive this church. Look at this thing.
Oh, it's getting foggy. The picture's getting.
Yeah,
Can you zoom in?
it's so
it looks
beautiful.
like it's still. It looks like it's still standing.
It's so beautiful. Oh my.
Is it empty?
Can you zoom in? There it is. There it is.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's empty, and it's actually a little bit. I want to put some blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. We could.
Gosh, it almost looks fairly. I wouldn't say modern, but it doesn't look like a really old church.
But you remember those pictures we were scrolling through earlier? There's a lot of decay, some mold. There's a hole in the ceiling.
Well, you never know. Oh, there is?
Yes, but I mean, we need to fix this thing and put a beautiful garden right here. Look in this area right here. Oh, that'd be beautiful.
If only they had a halfway decent mayor who could get behind something like that and see it through.
Oh, and then you have like a little house there. Oh, this could be very beautiful.
The house must be the rectory.
Right.
So he grew up with two other brothers, both of whom were older.
See if we
He
can.
was called Rob as a child. And from the very beginning, he wanted to be a priest. They say from the time he could walk. That had even been before he was an altar boy. And a neighbor once said he was going to be Pope someday, his brother says.
He did. Let's.
But he consistently rejected the idea, even as an adult, when it was brought up. It was a shocking moment, his brother said, when he found out that his imagine your brother being the Pope.
Yeah. And this is one of his brothers. Let's play a short clip. This courtesy of ABC News.
There hasn't been a chance to think about it because it's been constant phone calls, emails, messages, interviews. So I don't think it's really sunk in. It's kind of surreal. It's great pride. This is an awesome thing in the sense that the first, not only Pope, but first American Pope from Chicago, and a relative.
Not a lot of people can say, my brother is the Pope.
That's correct. And I can now say it.
So when you found out, obviously you have pride, that's your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Did you expect this?
To tell you the truth, no, because I kept hearing there will never be an American Pope just because the politics in the United States has too much world power now. They don't need it also into the church. So I did not expect it.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing, and Godspeed. And whatever your prejudices or your biases or your political affiliations, like the success of a president, the success of a pope, can benefit all of us. Because all the success of a pope is going to do is bring about a more peaceful world and a loving world. And that's what a pope attempts to do. They may get involved in controversial things or things that you think are controversial. But I mean, I guess it's abortion that creates the most animosity. But I don't know. Maybe it's my background, even though I've had at different times different views on abortion. But I can see why people can have different views on abortion. And as I got when I was younger, I looked at it one way, I looked at it a different way. But what I find hard, and I think what drove me to becoming, I would have considered myself pro-choice, because I thought there should be a window, and I wasn't sure exactly how long that window should be. But, in the early stages where a woman should get to make the choice, even though I personally am completely, 100% against it. So if it affected me, and how would it affect me? It would affect me if my wife got pregnant and wanted to have an abortion, or if a woman got pregnant as a result of me and wanted to have an abortion. Now, I realize as a man, I don't have complete control over her. What am I going to do, lock her up? But I would do everything in my power to try to have the woman have the child. Support it, take care of it. If the woman didn't want to have the child at all, say, give me the child. I will, when my mother was alive, my mother and I will bring the child up, or I'll hire people to help me or whatever. And I would go counsel friends. I would do that. And when I was mayor, set up a whole program for adoption, which was a great deal of interference from the pro-choice people who don't want you to tell people that are going to have abortions that adoption is an option. And this is what started to turn me off with them. I think they're more extremists. And then when they got really enthusiastic about late-term abortion, which it was an issue, and it was hard to focus on it. It didn't seem terribly different than the other issue. But then all of a sudden, they got very enthusiastic about it and wanted laws passed, basically changed Roe so that in the last 3-4 months, they could start killing babies. That's when I said, yeah, the slippery slope worked in, they went down the slippery slope right to murder. And that turned me off on the whole thing. So at this point, I really think it'd be a lot better for society if you let nature take its course and let God's will work out. And I probably got pushed that way because the right was abused. So that's my history. It is not totally religious one. It's not totally. But I do not understand why anybody would be angry at people who were fighting for life. Okay, so they're a little bit of an annoyance because you want to have an abortion. But they are counseling you to do the better thing. The other is unfortunate that you have to do it. I don't think you should be allowed to do it. But I'm not the only person in this country, and this is a democracy, not a theocracy. But I sure think you shouldn't be doing it with joy. And when you do, very subtly, you erode the value of human life. And having done that now for 50 years, it's gone. The Western civilization that took human life and put it up here on a pedestal is now not much different than the other civilizations where we just trample all over life. If it gets in our way, including all the assisted suicide garbage that's going on now. We need a pope who can, as Bishop Barron said brilliantly, what's the most important qualification of the pope? The one who can preach the resurrection of Jesus. The best. And the religion of Jesus the best. I think this guy will be good at that. I really do. Interestingly, none of the possible contenders that we never put a picture of them up. We put up a lot of pictures, Ted.
Yeah.
Maybe about 12 different Cardinals.
We did. We had them all, or not. We didn't have them all, obviously.
We have to say, but I'm going to tell you another thing. Neither did NBC, ABC, CBS, Newsmax, Fox, the Catholic Channel didn't have them.
Yeah.
The Catholic Channel, Polymarket didn't have them.
You're
One
right.
person had them.
Monsignor Alan Plaka.
Yeah.
Which, the more I think about it, we had him on the show, and we did, and I think he was tied up a few other times we wanted him on. We should have leaned on him. This man obviously knows the Catholic Church.
Well, he does.
We called him and talked.
He's published
We did a full special with him.
Actually, you're right. We did.
Alan,
You're right. We did.
You should understand that Alan is a Monsignor. He is a lawyer.
We did lean on
and a
him,
member of the bar. He's a lawyer and a member of the bar. He has written 4 books on theology. He is, I would not say he's an expert. He's not, he knows canon law backwards and forwards as a lawyer, but I don't think he's a civil lawyer, not a canon lawyer. And he's just inherently brilliant. Multilingual, like 8, 9 languages.
Wow.
So yeah, you're dealing with quite a mind there.
And,
but it underscores you go in as the next pope and you come out a cardinal.
Bingo. 12
of them went in as the next pope and they went out as cardinals, which ain't a bad thing to be. So the Wall Street Journal is still insisting that Trump is instigating trade wars. Except, I don't know, are they realizing we're winning them? Is that okay if we win the trade wars? Is it okay if America wins something, or should America just be the doormat of the world? I mean, here he is with the guy from Canada and the guy from England, and he explains how unfair they've been to us all these years, and they don't even disagree. Because they have been. We've been subsidizing the world since we started Lend-Lease with England to help them and to really be the decisive force to win the Second World War, not Russia. That's the communist view, and that's the Putin view. The real view is if our boys didn't come into that war with a fresh army, there is no question Hitler would have captured them and never had to remove most of his army to the Eastern Front to confront us in the Bulge, which is the border between France and Germany. So, hopefully the Pope knows that. His father was a lieutenant.
Right.
You should know that for all of the fake news, according to a much more reliable publication than the fake news, the Epoch Times, Chinese exporters begin to feel pain of tariffs as containers stack up. I should have gotten this picture for you on my screen here, but I do have it, and maybe you can see what it looks like at a typical Chinese port. They won't show you this picture. The Chinese won't show you this. That's all money they're not getting. That was in Qingdao in the Shandong province. That was just April of 15 of 2025. Didn't look that way last year when the guy they had bribed was letting everything in. China's economy will continue to hemorrhage unless its domestic demand can compensate, said Taiwanese economist Edward Young. They're going to have to become their own market. They're going to have to buy their own products. Do they have the wherewithal to buy their own products in an economy where their currency has devalued, and all they do is devalue their currency in order to engage in unfair trade? So now, if they are boxed in with many alternatives removed from them, they're already one of the biggest, America, but we get half the cooperation we're entitled to. We can crush them. And that should be our objective. Our objective should not be helping China develop a great economy as it has been in much of the 20th and even the beginning of the 21st century. One might say that we created the Chinese economy. They certainly stole everything from us, and we encouraged it. And their Chinese infiltration, their Marxist infiltration on one level, and our greed for the allure of the Chinese market is what has destroyed us. And we have to wean ourselves of that. And if there is a little pain involved in that, then it's worth it. It's worth it to save yourself from communism. It's like we were living under Biden, where, you know, if you want to have 13 people for Thanksgiving, you can't, because Governor Wang Doodle in Minnesota tells you no, you can only have 9. But of course, he was trained in China. It's got to be that guy's got some kind of a crazy relationship with China. 30 times he went there to teach. They funded his business.
That's so bizarre.
You know, the Chinese communists don't fund businesses for fun. Like they weren't paying for Hunter Biden's expertise $31 million, right? They were paying for the easily purchased Biden integrity, which they probably could have gotten for a third of the price. They were stupid, and they did overpay. Well, you got one shipper after another complaining like hell. Pretty soon they'll complain and say Xi Jinping should go.
I think that's already started too.
Yeah, I think it has.
Real quick, let's hear Trump on some of this.
What?
Tariffs. Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?
No.
Pretty simple.
Nah, but now there's a report that he's thinking of cutting them in half. Cutting the tariffs in half.
Right.
But I don't get it. You got to stay, Mr. President, I love you. Please listen to this. You got to stay consistent on this stuff if you're dealing with a dictator. I don't know. Maybe you got a couple of sissy pants and a couple of tough guys, right? Sissy pants, tough guys. Sissy pants, tough guys.
Right.
You don't have to be as tough as the toughest guys, but they got to be afraid of you. They got to be afraid of you. And you haven't lost it yet, but the delay in hitting Iran, the idea of negotiating with them, and the pussyfooting around with Putin and not getting that resolved, and not giving Putin a real message, like at least let's pull the trigger on the sanctions on Putin and start letting him bleed.
Right.
We need a show of toughness if we're going to do the if we're going to do the Ronald Reagan thing. Huh? It needs it now because there've been too many delays, and also whatever is going on with Israel isn't helping. Going ahead and making some kind of a deal with the Houthis without telling them. The deal with the Houthis is ambiguous. We don't know yet. I guess we'll find out in the next couple of days. Doesn't mean we don't hit them if they don't hit us, meaning America. Doesn't mean we don't hit them if they don't hit us and our allies, which means the ships in the Red Sea and Israel. If it means the latter, we got a good agreement, and we got one that'll shake people up a little. If it's the former, you're going to have Z and Putin thinking, there's some room here. And the idea of cutting back now on the tariffs after what you said before, I hope that was a ridiculous leak from one of the sissy pants in your administration. The UK deal we've gone through, and we do believe it's a fabulous deal for everybody. And this is the way to make a deal with a friend. Look, we're the richest of all. So they're all trying to take a little of us. And we let them take so much of us, we may not be rich very much longer. So the idea is we got to cut them back to something fair. We're more than happy to help them, but they got to help us get back to a more stable state than the ridiculous debt. And that particularly from COVID through Biden's $3 trillion giveaway for corrupt political purposes. We got to straighten that out if we want to be the dominant nation. So we have the wherewithal to buy arms more than anyone else. So we have the wherewithal to be at the highest level of technology. And we don't have our imitator, China, beating us. It'd be absurd. They will have beaten us from having stolen it from us.
Right. Right.
So if you want to know the deal with the UK, here's just a little analysis of it that you can keep in your head. And 10% baseline tariff on UK goods to remain in place. Now, remember, there's a teeny bit of a problem there, and the problem there is this: the problem is the tariff right now is only 2% that we put on them. So that is a major that baseline. That was tough to get England to accept, except for the fact if you don't come in early, you're going to be dealing with 25%. So England figures they may be one of the few countries that has that. Now, I think that is probably what Vietnam got itself by coming in very early. I think that's what Japan got itself by coming in early. Maybe a couple others that I'm not aware of. I think it's going to be out of the question for the EU, unless Italy and Hungary want to make their own deal. But I don't think he's given that deal to Germany and France, and particularly not Germany, that's doing so much business with China. A lot of this has to do also with England cutting off China. Not a major part of the deal. Of course, a very major part of it, not emphasized. Right? Remember the deal with Ukraine. Ukraine has had to get rid of every one of the Chinese acquired facilities that was taking rare earth. Yeah, throw them out. Now, that wasn't too hard to sell to Ukraine because Russia is the primary financier of China's primary financier of Russia, just like we are of the Ayatollah, or at least up until Trump came in. Isn't that amazing? When Doofus shows up with his wife acting like Bobo Brains, and she acts like, I don't know, somebody that came from the dance hall, and they're answering their questions and lying to us and all the stuff they did to us, including keeping a numbskull in the White House for 4 years so she could be on Vogue. You look at her, she should be on Vogue magazine. Geez, I wouldn't buy the magazine if something like that was on the cover of it. She's hardly a good looker. UK market, $5 billion worth of U.S. exports. That means we send $5 billion to them, including about $250 million in agricultural products and $700 million in ethanol. Expedited customs procedures for U.S. goods, which means it saves our people money, right? U.S. eliminates tariffs on UK-made planned parts, including Rolls-Royce engines. Now, we use the Rolls-Royce engines. Remember, you're thinking of cars. We use it in the Boeing aircraft.
Right.
So this is something that helps them, right? Something that helps us too. When we do tariffs, there are things where it's okay if we put a tariff on it. Others are going to hurt us. But when you can negotiate, you don't have to do it across the board in order to discipline them. You can make a great deal where, in fact, today, the Prime Minister of England was explaining how in the back of their pocket, there are a whole bunch of things they needed from us. And in the back of our pocket was a whole bunch of things. And they put them on a table. And they couldn't resolve every one of them. They resolved 90% of them so that we got what we wanted and they got what they wanted. This could happen with every country in the world. It won't. If it happens with 2/3 of the countries in the world, that's all we need. And wean ourselves from China and let them go starve, because their people will overthrow them. Their people will overthrow them. And the will of Pope Leo XIII to rid ourselves of atheistic communists will have been satisfied. UK zeroes out tariffs on ethanol. So we were selling $700 million in ethanol, but they were putting a 19% tariff on it. Imagine how much they'll buy now without it. That could double. Everybody in Iowa should stand up and cheer now.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you think we make corn now to eat? We make corn for ethanol. 100,000 UK-made cars subject to 10% tariff rather than 25%. So they get to sell cars in America. They don't get to sell all the cars they want. The 10% is an increase of the 2%. So even that is a little bit, we are going to get a little profit on their selling the cars, and put our cars in a more competitive position if they're doing subsidies, which they probably are, and that's probably why it's there. But I mean, it doesn't say that. We'd have to go into more detail, but I'm almost positive. You got to understand there are two things when you're dealing with tariffs. There's the percentage itself, but then there are all the things the government may do to subsidize. China is, of course, absolutely vicious about that and dishonest about it, and it's the whole way in which they got the monopoly on mineral rights and rare earth minerals is by buying it up all over the world and then selling it below cost. And then when they have you by the teeth and you can only buy from them, they double the price. Exactly what the monopolies did at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, that the Republican Party had to break up. Wall Street Journal doesn't remember that. UK to match 25% U.S. tariff rate on imported steel and aluminum. That apparently we didn't work out. But he said he wasn't going to try to work that out. He wants to have that 25% tariff on steel and aluminum because he wants the steel industry to grow in the United States. And already we're doing something like, the last time I checked last week, we got about half a trillion invested, new money, in rebuilding our steel and aluminum industry. So that's the deal, so that when you hear it, you'll understand it. And the whole editorial in the Wall Street Journal about a trade war.
I wish we had a real copy of the paper version.
Yeah,
fun.
The whole paper's not wrong. They got some good stuff in here.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
You make a good point.
Oh, here's another one. Tariff chaos. There isn't any chaos.
What chaos?
There's tariff chaos in China.
Yeah, I can't imagine how they're freaking out. They got a real American.
Honestly, I got to be fair. If you read the article, that's what it's about.
Okay. I was going to say
the chaos in China.
They're probably, we have an American president who's looking out for America first. This is crazy. This is crazy.
It looks like we're not going to be getting too much made in China Christmas crap.
Yeah.
I don't think the made in China stuff has much to do with the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Well, that was the label growing up. We were like the kids.
They're having real trouble with TV shopping network Christmas in July. They're not selling anything to them because it's 145% tariff, and on some things 245%.
Oh, geez.
You know, one of the things this is doing is it's going to clean a lot of the crap out of America.
Yeah, we don't know all the stuff that doesn't work.
Crap that people buy from
These
China.
Little knickknacks,
used to be that everything made in China was all cheap crap, and everybody thinks they became this great, sophisticated. Well, they have done. At the high end, they do a lot of stuff, but they still do a lot of the cheap crap. It's not all, other countries.
Yeah.
They make. I mean, Temu, Shine. These are all cheap crap companies.
They're sending us the crap.
And I know everybody gets annoyed when the president says you don't have to have all the flowers at a wedding that you want, stuff like that, because Americans don't like to hear that they should.
I missed that.
But come on. I
didn't know the flower. I didn't know floral. Interesting.
Flowers are such a waste.
Yeah, so that's where that came from. You were on this the other day.
Yeah.
It was in reaction to the president saying something about.
Yeah, people are complaining they can't get it. They
certain flowers come from China. Oh, real flowers.
4,520 flowers at your wedding, so the people with allergies sneeze like hell.
Yeah, but they're saying they're complaining that they're talking about fake flowers from China. Get some real flowers. It's a funeral.
Or a funeral. How about a funeral? How about a funeral in which you walk into the wake and you start choking? There's so many flowers.
Oh yeah.
And what are you going to do with these flowers? You're not going to.
Well, those are the fake ones.
There
I'm
won't be
sure.
room in the grave for the dead person.
Yeah, but flowers. And it's a funeral. Get some some locally sourced real flowers.
My family and I learned to do it as a mayor. Sends them to the hospital.
Very nice.
But I'll tell you what Dr. Maria says.
What do they do with them at the hospital?
How many flowers can I take?
You're probably getting them all the time too.
You're taking care of people. You don't want to be dealing with flowers.
Well, and that's the other thing. If you get a nice flower arrangement, you got to water it, keep it nice.
In my room in the hospital, I don't want flowers. Keep your damn flowers.
Yeah, I want Diet Coke.
I was in the hospital for 4 days with COVID, and for 5 days with my emergency knee operation. I'd have them give me the cards of the flowers they sent me.
Right.
Never even looked at them.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to look at it. So I wrote back a little thank you note for the beautiful flowers.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I don't want people sending me flowers.
Okay, I'm sure you're very pro flowers for me. Like, I don't.
Oh, you want flowers? You want your hospital room?
No. I'd get nervous if people started sending me flowers.
And you go to the hospital. Everybody who wants something.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
They're not even goodwill stuff.
Well, actually, send me like money if I'm not.
Send me money.
If they send me money, I go to jail.
No. Only like legally.
Legally, send me money legally. When I was in private practice, you send me new cases, something like that.
That's a good point.
But I can't do that anymore because the liberals have taken away my private practice.
Mayor, that was a very astute of you. I'm not sure every mayor would understand that.
What?
Some of the mayors, when people are sending you flowers, right? Why they're really doing it?
Yeah. Or the unions send me flowers.
Yeah, these union guys.
The unions send you flowers.
Yeah, right. That's the last group that sends
the mayor flowers. At least send me like a book about baseball or
a candy bar
or politics. I mean, you can send me
any book about politics.
Or a new camera.
Oh, now for us, equipment. Now,
new camera. Yeah, that'd be good. What kind should we got
to get a wish list together for your birthday.
These are American made. We should get one of those Go Hero cameras.
Yeah.
GoPro. Are we 100%
GoPro.
sure? Are we 100%
100% sure American made.
Okay. We got to
Can
get rid
GoPro make a gimbal, please? I would really.
And by the way,
But dropping any DJI products we have left.
I'm starting to think. They may get hit. Those products, those Chinese products, electronic products, may get hit with big tariffs.
Of course.
I've already bought a handful.
Well, I'm hoping. Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you off air. What I'm hoping that you can relay on some of this Chinese goods.
Well, Black Magic is American.
810 Mini, the Rodecaster Pro.
Those are all made in America.
The cameras, the lights.
Yeah, the lights are.
We're doing pretty good. I think for Chinese made products.
That's Black Magic.
I think we're just down for a few gimbals and some side products.
Oh.
Are you done?
So slashing tariffs.
We're on hour 4 for the day. Oh, at 9 you're saying.
Slashing tariffs is something that we're not sure of. I don't think he should be slashing tariffs with China. We should keep him up. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back and we'll do the conclusion. How's that? All right. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers. No.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, been quite a week, right? Let's see what the last group of things that we want to get across to you are. We're going to be watching this weekend for what happened in the meeting with the Chinese, with the Secretary of the Treasury and the trade rep, with regard to the deal. I'd like to see very little give on the tariff, if unless they're going to drop a lot. But it's very, very important to keep the pressure on China, which is under tremendous pressure. And we want them to remain under tremendous pressure. India, Pakistan, we'll see if that escalates or not. Hopefully, they've all taken the shots they want to take and it's over. The UK deal is in the books. So let's see what follows it. Probably we're not going to get anything over the weekend.
Oh, let's go. Bayer's 1 for 1.
What?
On your guesses. Who's next on trade deals? Who's the next one to get an Inca deal?
Next one to get a deal?
You're 1 for 1. So yeah, this is
India.
Ooh, okay.
Well, wait. India may be too tied up right now to negotiate the darn thing. So then I think it would be could be Vietnam because they came in early and they should be benefited with one. Yeah, I'll go with Vietnam.
Really? Okay. I'm gonna say EU.
Yeah, I think it would have been India, unless they can do two things at once. Maybe they can, right?
Right.
They have to.
Right.
No, I mean it'd be a sign of real support for them if they were able to get a trade deal with us. You know, it would be sort of a sign to Pakistan of what side we're on.
Right.
Yeah, use that trade deal to buy some big old weapons
from us.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll sell them. The president is taught. Look. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The whole ceremony for the Pope.
Right. That was beautiful.
The millionaires tax. Come on, Mr. President. Forget about it. We've been through this before.
You're not for that.
This is a Democrat thing. This is a socialist thing. Millionaires. How much more are millionaires going to pay of the percentage of tax? How about getting some of the other people that don't pay taxes to pay tax?
How about
It'd be good for them?
Mayor, how about keeping them the same where they're at now?
Yeah. Come on.
No, not cutting it though. Not cutting their taxes. I want to. I'm thinking from a political standpoint.
We don't have to cut their taxes. We just leave it the way it is.
Let's take away because that's what's
we don't want to
AOC,
take away their tax benefit that they got 4 years ago.
What's AOC and Bernie's big thing? Something with the billionaires, yada yada yada, right?
Politics is politics, and sound economy is sound economy. It's not sound economy to tax millionaires any more than you're doing right now when they're paying about 80% of the tax, and half the country isn't paying taxes. That's a very dangerous situation to be in. Very dangerous.
Okay. You've straightened me out on that one real quick.
I think
you got me.
I think despite the president's tremendous persuasive abilities and political power, I don't think he gets it through a Republican Congress. The Republicans do not want to go back to some of these districts having passed a millionaire's tax. Any tax is anathema to the Republican Party. Pass the GOP tax bill. That's what you should pass. Just extend the tax as it is. Don't fool around with it. It did great things for our economy before. It's going to do great things for our economy this time. The president's 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine, some people are criticizing. This one I think is a good idea. I mean, why while people are putzing around about what to do, why should people die? And I don't think if you do a ceasefire, it extends the war. Well, it does extend the war, but it extends the war without people dying. So I can't imagine why they're opposed to a ceasefire. We should be all in favor. And I think Jeanine Pirro taking over in the District of Columbia is a great idea. I don't know if she's doing that temporarily or on a temporary basis, but she sure as heck has the same view of the Ashley Babbitt case that I do. Maybe we'll finally get that guy investigated for first-degree murder. Letitia James has found out that a grand jury, not in Manhattan, but in Albany, has begun an investigation of her fraud, which seems to be obvious. Now, she went and got a mortgage and claimed it was her permanent residence, and she was at the time, it was a permanent residence, in Maryland or Virginia, and at the time, she was the Attorney General of New York. It was just a straight out fraud, like real fraud, not the kind of phony fraud she tried to do with Trump. Oh, and by the way, nobody's above the law, right, Madam Attorney General? You sure is not above the law, and you come out of a crooked Brooklyn Democratic machine. So I'm not surprised that you were involved in what seems to be obvious fraud. It's on record, like it's real fraud. Now you'll find out what fraud is, because you didn't know what it was when you charged Trump. When you don't have a loss, there's no fraud. Sorry. Columbia University, let them come into let all the pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist, anti-American, Jew-hating creeps with the towels around their head come in and terrorize people at the Butler Library again. A bunch of people were arrested and released in 2 minutes. When the hell are we going to get serious about this? And if you're Jewish, what the hell are you going to Columbia for? You're out of your mind. Just give up on it. I think everybody should give up on Harvard and Columbia. No students, see what they do. They can spend down their endowment. They can teach each other for advanced courses on Marxism. How to remove God even further from our society. Let's see if we can do that. Or how can we exterminate the Jews and make sure they never rejuvenate themselves? Because just exterminating might not be enough for the people at Harvard and Columbia. I mean, and the judges in New York, don't you hold these people? and they're walking in with the masks on still. We can't get it straight that this is private property. Like somebody walks in the door here, right? This is our property, right? And he's got a mask on. I say, take your mask off. He says, no, I throw him out. That's what you can do in a college. It's your property. You want to, and you don't think these people are dangerous? These people have got their faces covered with towels. Those towel things are to protect your ear from the sand. Because these people these people come up from the sand. That's where they come from. These are sand people. That's why many of them, that's why Muhammad had such a great success converting them, because they were ignorant and illiterate. The other Arabs told the epileptic to go to hell because they thought he was possessed by the devil. Of course, everybody was wrong. He wasn't possessed by the devil with the epilepsy. He got possessed by the devil later when he started mass murdering Jews and Christians. So, and also our good friend Betsy McCoy has another great idea. How about taking away Harvard's tax deduction? What do you think? Any tax benefits gone? Isn't the anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism enough, and the pro-terrorism enough? Or how about years of teaching to hate America? Yeah, well, that seems to me like that's enough. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
And Harvard's non-creative approach to their business curriculum is just atrocious. It's actually turned our world into a bunch of drone, corporate losers, right? There's no creativity. I don't like the way they teach business. And then they all end up running the economy, running the big companies who just kowtow to the woke agenda nonstop. So screw Harvard.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, Harvard Business School was never something I had to seriously consider. I don't think I was ever in the running to attend Harvard Business School.
Well, affirmative action would have got you in running.
That's a good point. Yeah, well, I'm the minority that hurts me in my minority status.
We are very, very supportive of the program put out by Secretary Duffy of the Department of Transportation to immediately revise the air traffic controllers and the air traffic system, and to put a fortune into doing it. And I think that there's a place we got to spend money, because things, they're so confused. I can't figure them out. Biden, we're not going to play it for you. It's not worth it. But Biden was on with the most frequently depicted woman on the cover of Vogue, based on her great beauty, the first stepmother, or the former first stepmother. And they, if you just want to watch it, no reason to do it. It was on The View. He basically looks like he wouldn't even be accepted in a nursing home any longer. They'd have to put him in a place where he could be watched 24 hours a day.
Well, now that you mention it up, we can't show.
She interrupted him to finish his sentences for him. I'm surprised she wasn't feeding him. I don't think she feeds him anymore.
This might be
I think he now has to put his head in the bowl and just take the ice cream out.
The Democrat Party.
No, I don't want to show him.
Okay.
I don't want to show him. Who needs to show that anti-American criminal traitor?
Sure.
He's cost enough American lives and other lives. Biden is not surprised that Kamala lost. Give me a break. Give me a break. Can't we forget that? That was the worst period in our history. And just in case you're getting thoughts of we should have an agreement with Iran, Mr. President, please talk to the UK where they had to stop an alleged massive attack by the Iranians in Britain, in London, a city they own. The mayor probably would have given him some kind of award. I personally would like you to take a look at this, Mr. President, because they tried to do this to me twice. Once in Albania and once in France. That is, blow me up. A group of Iranian men recently arrested in Britain have been planning an attack on the Israeli embassy in London. And we're negotiating with them. How about we just take out the damn nuclear facilities and get it over with? Those bunker busting bombs are getting old. They like to be used. It's like, you got to exercise a dog, right? You got to exercise a human being. You got to exercise bombs. And our pilots, they're going to lose, Well, let the Israelis do it. They're pretty good the last time they hit everything in Iran.
I hope, Mayor, we don't look back in 40, 50 years and look back at a time when the United States leadership across the board missed an opportunity to keep Iran from becoming
You mean the way we look back now and we see how Clinton could have prevented September 11th if he had bin Laden? Or we look back now and see if we had taken Hitler seriously, the Holocaust would never have happened? Yeah.
When you put it that way, it just makes
Could
it
happen.
even.
I mean, we got other examples of that too.
Awful.
So let's finish the week on a hopeful note. The Roman Catholic Church, the largest church in the world, has a new pontiff. He's an American, seems to be a very nice and balanced man, a very religious and intelligent man. There may be things about him in his past where some of us don't agree with his political position, or maybe some of his political positions and others. But let's see what happens. The Pope is an extraordinarily complex position, and complex meaning the man is operating on a different thing than public acclaim. He's operating on his best ability to discern the will of God. And he looks like a very sincere man of integrity. I think that's the way he's going to approach it. And I have noticed that there's a sort of a balance of symbolism that he's put forth to kind of say to us, yep, I'm like Francis, but I don't go that far. Free enterprise, I understand, it may be necessary to bring people out of poverty. How can an American from Chicago not know that? Of course he does. The guy was a math major, after all. So let's see what happens. It is in the hands of God, right? We have good hands to have him in. And pray for the people of Israel, and pray for the people of Ukraine, and pray for the people of Iran, who we've talked about tonight. How about India and Pakistan, too? They don't need a war. And pray for our president. He's going to go off on a very, very big mission in the Middle East. And he's got a big announcement to make, and let's hope it's as great as he says it is. And we'll comment on it as soon as it happens. So you stick with X, and you'll see some of our comments. They may be live, they may be taped, but we'll say something about it. As soon as we find out what the big announcement is, we'll let you know. So, what a week. 267 pontiff for the Roman Catholic Church. Ready to bring God back to the world. Big time. Because that's his job. I think Bishop Barham said it best. His job is to preach the gospel and the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and bring it to all of us to save us. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able